Hey, I'm Zach from Elective.com, and we are in Photoshop for the Transform series. So if you have not followed through at this point, you may be a little lost, and that's just fine. Just back up, and if you need to back up all the way to Illustrator, that's totally fine as well. There's a button down below that you can just click on that. It'll take you right over there, and it'll get you started on the project. But for now, if you've been following along, we finally have kind of our final logo, if you want to call it that, image. It's our high resolution image, and now we need to get it ready for a sermon series, like a sermon slide, where like all of the sermon points and scriptures are all going to go. So the first thing we need to do is crop it. So we're going to get our crop tool. Now here's something that's really important. This little delete crops, or delete cropped pixels, make sure that is unchecked, because again, we're working non-destructively, so you don't want to delete any pixels, because it's kind of like writing a 14-page paper and then all of a sudden accidentally hitting delete and then save, which is horrible. The other thing is, we want to make sure that the crop stays at the aspect ratio that we want it to stay at. So in the when it says ratio, make sure that you switch it over to W times H times resolution, which is the height, width and height. So then you could put 1920 by 1080 or 1280 by 720, and that will kind of give you this screen type of look. Once you have that, go ahead and hit enter a couple of times, and that's going to give you your crop. Now here's the deal, it's non-destructive, which means that I can grab this layer, which is the black eyes and hair, and it's actually just hidden behind the crop, which is exactly what we wanted. So now we obviously need to size everything down, because this is, you can't put scripture up there, that's a little distracting. So go ahead and grab all of the layers except for the background layer. Do Command T, we have our move tool is what we're using here. I'm going to do Command minus to back out. Grab the corner and start dragging. As you can see, we don't want something like this, so you want to hold shift to make sure it stays proportioned to itself. It's like I'm drowning. No, I'm drowning. Okay, I'm just showing. And then we want it a little bit bigger than that. The way I kind of envision this is that the top of the head and the bottom of the beard kind of touch the top of the screen and the bottom of the screen. But we want that kind of dramatic peek around the corner type of thing. Now obviously, now I'm going to hit Command 0. Obviously, if there's going to be scripture up here, we don't want some like creeper just peeking around the corner like that. It's kind of freaking us out. Also, we need to change the title from form to actually saying transform. And also, if you notice the details here, the drop shadow has dramatically changed, and that's because the effect will stay the same, but if you size something down, that means the drop shadow is going to be a lot more dramatic. So we've got a lot of different morphing and changing to do, which is why we have the high resolution image to start with, and then we're going to save this as a completely different document. So step one, let's grab the title font, which is transform, and let's kind of move it up here in this corner. And we want to try to make this open area for PowerPoint or whatever it may be. The other thing we want to do is we actually want to go into the black face layer, select the mask, and we're going to get our paintbrush tool by typing the letter B, and then we're going to make sure we're painting with black on the mask. We want to make sure our paintbrush is 100%, and we are actually going to paint out the black completely, all the way, double rainbow all the way. And then we want to go to the black layer and do exactly the same thing we did before with selecting it. Whoa, sorry, getting ahead of myself. Go to the text layer, the black text layer, open that up. Now here's the beauty of non-destructive work. I can now go and select this text and modify it, and it's going to be still within that mask. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So I'm selecting all the text. I'm doing Command J to duplicate it, And now I'm simply going to get my move tool, type letter V, and I'm simply just going to move it up. And as you can see, it winds up being pretty cool. Let's just do it one more time. Command J. Obviously, we have a ton of text going everywhere at this point. And just fill it in. There we go. Just fill it in kind of however you want. The only thing to be aware of is this right here. If you have like, it's kind of thin and then it's like real thick and it's kind of thin again, you kind of want to try to make sure it's as even as possible, like so. Now the thing that I did, this is where you can kind of get creative and do whatever you want, whatever you think would work for your screens. But in my case, I went ahead and just got rid of the inside, both the text and the fill. And then I'm gonna select all of this text and I'm gonna go to my type tool and I'm gonna change the color to white. Hit OK. Now I'm an old man. Look at that. Now the reason we did that is because it's a little bit more subtle than the black. The black is a little bit more bold on the gray in the background. So to make it even more subtle, we're going to make sure that layer is selected, and we're going to go to our opacity in the layers, and we're going to bring it down. And at this point, it's kind of just eyeballing it. So we're going to look at that background, and that's looking pretty good, right about there. So there you go. You have some type of background. If you wanted to be very simplistic and yet work with your series, then you can definitely stop right here. One thing that I really try to make sure to do is make sure there's continuity between all the weeks of the series. So, and I've got a video on the sermon series branding, which I definitely recommend you watch, because it's something that I've learned a lot of lessons, and it seems to work. So what you can do at this point, and this is just real quick, is grab the type tool, and you can use whatever size of the font you want, and click over here, and I'm just going to do title 1, hit enter, title 2, hit enter, title 3, and I'm going to stop there, but obviously you can keep going. So what you're doing at this point is you're kind of lining up these different titles. Now, of course, as designers, you want to make sure that this all looks good. So let's deal with the font just a little bit here. First off, Command T, because you got your move tool, and we're going to size it down. So the key for the sermon series backgrounds is to always be subtle. Be out of the way, be subtle. Whatever the point he's making or whatever scripture's on the screen, that is the focus of this slide. But now we're going to get our type tool yet again, and this time we don't even have to select the text. As long as we have the layer selected and the type tool, we go up here to the alignment and make sure it's aligned right, and then get your move tool and put it right over there, just like that. Line it up. And in fact, you know what? I'm gonna make it a different size. So I'm gonna go to light. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, a little bit better. Regular? Regular is the one. So at that point, you can kind of see that it's title 1, title 2. Now here's the cool thing. Get your type tool, click in here. Let's say you're on the last week. Okay, you want to highlight that. All you have to do is change the weight of that title, and you now have, hey, reminding everybody we are on week 3 of this sermon series. So there's a lot of different flexibility here. You can kind of play around with it. You can even change the color of the background, of course, to whatever you want. But that is the sermon background for the sermon slides. If you have any questions, make sure to comment below, or you can contact us, or you can go to any of the social media sites. And we're actually going to keep going. We got some more things to prep for Photoshop. So go to the next video.